2019 November, paper 2, higher tier. Answer all questions. You must show you're working, and the total mark is 80. Question number 1. The table shows some information about the weights of 50 potatoes. So the weight in grams in one column and the frequency in the next column. Ivita drew this frequency polygon for the information in the table. The frequency polygon is not fully correct. Write down 2 things that are wrong with the frequency polygon. Number 1, there is no frequency label, or the y-axis is not labeled. So if you look on the y-axis, there is no frequency label on the y-axis and or no title for the y-axis. That's one thing which is wrong with it. Second thing that could be wrong, the polygon should not be closed or have a line at the bottom. You see the line there? That red line I'm showing there, there shouldn't be that. That red line should not be there. So you shouldn't join this first, the last, and the first point. That line should not be there. That's the second thing. And another thing is the point 15.6 has been plotted incorrectly. So if I zoom in, we want to plot 15.6 to be down here. I put in blue, but they've plotted it at 15.8 up there. So they've plotted that point wrongly. 15.6 has been plotted wrongly. That's some details which you might want to notice. So that's how you do that question 1. Choose 2 of these reasons and that'll give you the mark. Question number 2. The length of a pencil is 128 millimeters. Correct to the nearest millimeter. Complete the error interval for the length of the pencil. So we have 128 millimeters in the middle. We ask ourselves, what number can we round up to 128? If we have 127.5, we will round it up to 128, because if we put a line there, we take the 5, change it to 1, add it to 7, it becomes 128. So 127.5, we round it up to 128. Now we look for a number that we can round down to 128. We can round down 128.499999 forever. We round that down to 128 because it's less than 5. But we cannot be writing 0.4999. So we would just write 128.5. But we know the number has to be below 128.5. So we round 127.5. That's why we have the less than or equal to sign there. That means it includes 127.5. We round it up. We round down to 128, but not 128.5. So that's why we have the less than sign. It does not include 128.5. The number just before 128.5, like 128.499999. Question number 3. Tom and Adam have a total of 240 stamps. The ratio of the number of Tom's stamps to the number of Adam's stamps is 3:7. Tom buys some stamps from Adam. The ratio of the number of Tom's stamps to the number of Adam's stamps is now 3:5. How many stamps does Tom buy from Adam? You must show all your working. So we have a ratio of 3:7 in the beginning. After Tom buys some stamps from Adam, the ratio changed to 3:5. So we want to work out how many stamps he bought. So in the beginning, 3:7, we add 3 plus 7, that gives us 10. That's 10 parts altogether. And there were 240 stamps. So we should do 240 divided by 10. It gives us 24. Now, because Tom had 3, is to 7, 3 parts of the 3 is to 7. So 3 times 24, it gives you 72. So that means Tom had 72 stamps in the beginning. And how many stamps did Adam have? 7 times 24, Adam had 168 stamps. Now, and that was the ratio for 3 is to 7. Now we want to change the ratio to 3 is to 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. So 240 divided by 8 is 30. So how many does Tom have? 30 times 3 is 90. So Tom has got 90. So what's the difference between the 90 and the 72? 90 minus 72 is 18. That means Tom, how many stamps does Tom buy from Adam? Tom must have bought 18 stamps from Adam. Question number 4. Each person in a fitness club is going to get a free gift. Stan is going to order the gift. Stan takes a sample of 50 people in the fitness club. He asks each person to tell him the gift they would like. The table shows information about his results. So the gift and the number of people. So for sports bag, 17 people wanted for sports bag for gift. For the gym towel, 7 people wanted gym towel as a gift. For headphones, 11 people wanted headphones. For voucher, 15 people wanted voucher. There are 700 people in the fitness club. Work out how many sports bags Stan should buy. So 17 sports bag is required from 50 people. So 17 sports bag from 50 people. So if we change the number of people to 700, how do we get from 50 to 700? We can do 50 times 14. Or we do 700 divided by 50. That gives you 14. So it was 50 people, 17 sports bag. If we times by 14, we'll get 700 people. Now we do the same to the left-hand side, times by 14. So 17 sports bag times 14 will give us 238 sports bag. So for 700 people, you need 238 sports bags. Part 2, write down any assumption you made and explain how this could affect your answer. The first assumption, we could say the sample is representative. So those 50 people represents the 700 so that it would work. Or you can say the sample is random sample. You didn't pick a particular group of 50 people, it's random. Or the 50 people are from the 700, not another group where you pick the 50 people. And so that is some of the reasons which you would give to make sure your answer is correct, the assumptions you have made. Question number 5. Here are 6 graphs. Write down the letter of the graph that could have the equation y equals to x cubed for part A. Now, it's important to just remember or know what these shapes or the graphs look like and what their function could be. So the part for A, that represents y equals to x squared. That's the shape of y equals to x squared. If you put x is 0, y is 0, it passes through the origin. For B, that's an example of the graph x cubed minus 9x plus 5. That's just an example. For C, it represents y equals to minus 1 over x. So your answer is F. The graph F represents y equals to x cubed. You put x is 0 and you get y is 0. So it passes through the origin. And if you put 1, you will get y to be 1. X cubed, 1 cube is 1. So it goes through 1, 1. If you put 2, it will go to 2, 8. So you can work out some coordinates to give you an idea, or you can just remember that that's the shape of y equals to x cubed graph. For part B, y equals to 1 over x. The answer is D. So that's the graph of y equals to 1 over x. The one that may be confusing with it is the one for minus 1 over x. So the graph for y equals to 1 over x, you can put some values. When x is 1, y is half. When x is 2, y would be, when x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is a half. So it's important to be able to work out some values to help you determine which graph it is. And you should know E is not one of them because E is a straight line, y equals to mx plus c. A is not one of them. A is a graph of y equals to x squared. Question number 6. The n term of a sequence is 2n squared minus 1, and the n term of a different sequence is 40 minus n squared. Show that there is only one number that is in both of these sequences. To show it, we need to work out the terms of the sequences, and we keep doing it until we get a number that is found in both of them. So let's start with 2n squared minus 1. We substitute in n equals to 1. So 2 times 1 squared minus 1, it gives you 1. We do next one, n is 2. 2 times 2 squared minus 1, 7. Next one, n is 3. 2 times 3 squared minus 1 is 17. N is equals to 4. 2 times 4 squared minus 1 is 31. We carry on and we go to the next n term, 40 minus n squared. We substitute 1. 40 minus 1 squared is 39. We substitute n is 2 for the next one. 40 minus 2 squared is 36. We substitute n is 3. 40 minus 3 squared is 31. We carry on for like 6, 7 terms. And we notice that there's 31 in both terms. So when n is 4, you get 31 for the first one. And when n is 3, you get 31 for the second one. So 31 is in both sequence. Question number 7. Work out 3.42 times 10 to the minus 7 divided by 7.5 times 10 to the minus 6. Give your answer in standard form. You can just put this in your calculator and it will give you the answer, and you can use your calculator to change the answer to standard form. You will use the number format in your calculator. You can watch one of my videos on how to use the calculator, the Casio ClassWiz calculator, to change a number in standard form, or to change a number from standard form to an ordinary number. You normally use the setup and format, and you use the number part of it to help you to change it from standard form to ordinary number. And your answer would be 4.56 times 10 to the minus 2. The number of days, D, that it will take to build a house is given by D is equals to 720 divided by N, where N is the number of workers used each day. Ali's company will take 40 days to build a house. Haley's company will take 30 days to build a house. Haley's company will have to use more workers each day than Alice's company. How many more? So the first thing is we write down the formula. Number of days is 720 divided by N, where N is the number of workers. So we start with Alice's company. Alice's company has 40 workers. So 720 divided by 40, because N is 40 for Alice's company. 720 divided by 40, it gives us 18. Now we go to Haley's company. Haley's company is 30 days. 720 divided by 30, because N is 30, that gives you 24. And we want the difference between the two. 24 minus 28 minus 18, it gives you 6. So 6 more. Question number 9. The diagram shows a cube and a cuboid. The total surface area of the cube is equal to the total surface area of the cuboid. Janet says the volume of the cube is equal to the volume of the cuboid. Is Janet correct? You must show how you get your answer. So we can start by finding the surface area of the cuboid. To find the surface area, we need to find the area of each side. So for example, if we look at this pink side for the cuboid, the area for that rectangle is length times width. So it's 18 times 6. That gives us the area for that pink side. And because there's two of them, there's one on this there and there's one on the other side. So you times by 2. And the area for the front of that cuboid is 6 times 8, length times width. And because there's the front and there's the back, you times by 2. And you do the same for all the other side. So there's 6 sides for the cuboid. So there's 2 for the first one, 2 for the next, and 2 for the next. So the times by 2 because 2, 4, 6, 6 sides. So the total would be 600 for the cuboid. The total surface area for the cuboid is 600. Next, we want to find the side length of cube. To find the side length of the cube is the surface area divided by 6. And then we find the square root. Because there are 6 sides of the cube, so 600, because they're the same surface area. So the 600, we use that for the cube and divide by 6 sides for the cube. The cube has got 6 sides. Divide by 6, that gives you 100. So 100 is the area of that yellow side. 100 the area of the yellow side, which is 10 times 10. So what's the square root of 100? It's 10. So each side of the cube is 10 centimeters. And volume of cube is volume of the cuboid. You multiply all the 3 numbers. So for the cuboid, to get the volume, you multiply 6 times 8 times 18. It gives you 864. And for the cube, to get the volume, you multiply 10 times 10 times 10. That gives you 1000. So you can see 864 and then 1000. Janet says the volume of the cuboid is equal to the volume of the cube. The answer is no. Question number 10. Make k the subject of the formula y equals to square root of 2m minus k. So we want to get k to be on its own, on the left side, and everything on the right. So we start by removing the square root sign. The inverse of square root is squared. So it becomes y squared is equals to 2m minus k. Sometimes you might say you square the left side and square the right side. So when you square the left side, square the right side, this square would cancel with the square root sign. So you have y squared is equals to 2m minus k. Now we want to get k on its own, and we want k to be positive. So we can take the minus k to the left side, it becomes plus k. The minus k comes to the left, it becomes plus k. And the plus y squared goes to the right, it becomes minus y squared. So you got k is equals to 2m minus y squared. Megan grows potatoes. The box plot shows information about the weight of Megan's potatoes. Megan says that half of her potatoes weigh less than 50 grams each. Is Megan correct? Give a reason for your answer. Half of the potatoes would be where the median is. But if you look at that, the median is at 57. So the answer is no, because the median is at 57. So it is not less than 50. Amy also grows potatoes. The box plot shows information about the weight of Amy's potatoes. Compare the distribution of the weights of Megan's potatoes with the distribution of weight of Amy's potatoes. So when we want to compare from the box plot, we want to do it in a table, which I've circled like that. So in that table, we would have Megan and we have Amy. We want to compare the median, the range, and the interquartile range. So for Megan, the median is 7. The range is 49. And the interquartile range is 26. For Amy, the median is 42. The range is 47. And the interquartile range is 16. How did we get the numbers for range and interquartile range? So we have 72 minus 23. It gives you 49, which is the range for Megan. And the 72 comes from that part there, and the 23 comes from there. So it's the highest minus the lowest. So 72 minus 23. It gives you 49 as a range for Megan. And for Megan, the interquartile range is given by the upper quartile, which is 65, and the lower quartile, which is 39. 65 minus 39. 65 minus 39. It gives you 26. And for Amy, the range is given by 70 minus 23. It gives you 47. And the interquartile range is given by 51 minus 35, which gives you 16. Now we've got those information. Let's put it in a statement to compare it. So we would say the median weight for Megan was greater than the median weight for Amy. Median weight for Megan is 57. For Amy is 42. So you can see clearly there. And a correct comparison of a measure of spread, you can say the interquartile range of weights for Megan is greater than the interquartile range of weights for Amy, because for Megan it is 26 and for Amy it is 16. Question number 12. The diagram shows the triangle ABC. ADC and DEB are straight lines. AD is 4.4 centimeters, BC is 8.6, E is the midpoint of DB, angle CDB is 90 degrees, angle DCB is 40 degrees. Work out the size of angle EAD. Angle EAD. Give your answer correct one decimal place. You must show all your working. So we're going to make use of this formula SOHCAHTOA in this question. So it's important for you to remind yourself of the right angle triangle, the adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse. The SAW is for sine theta, opposite over hypotenuse. The CAH is for cos theta, adjacent over hypotenuse, and the TOA, tan theta, opposite over adjacent. So we'll be using it in that question. So let's look at the pink triangle, the triangle I've colored in pink. Sine of 40 degrees is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is BD, that's the opposite, over the hypotenuse, which is 8.6. So that's the hypotenuse and that's the opposite. Now, if you take 8.6 to the left, it will become times. So 8.6 times sine 40, it gives you 5.52797, and that is your dB. And we want to find ED. E is the midpoint of dB, and because it says it's the midpoint, that's why we divide by 2. So it's the midpoint, that means you have it divided by 2 and it gives you 2.76. So that gives us 2.76, which is ED, 2.76. Now we know 2.76 is ED. We look at this triangle, which is in turquoise color, small triangle. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we're using this one. Tangent is opposite, which is that divided by adjacent. So the opposite and the adjacent. So opposite is 2.76, adjacent is 4.4. And to get the angle inverse tangent of 2.76 over 4.4, it gives you 32.0989. We want to round it to one decimal place. We put a line after the first decimal place, change the 9 to a 1 and add it there, it becomes 32.1. So to one decimal place is 32.1. Question number 13. Sakira invested £3,550 in a saving account for 3 years. She was paid 2.6% per annum compound interest for each of the first 2 years. She was paid 0% interest for the third year. Sakira had £3,819.21 in her savings account at the end of the 3 years. Work out the value of R. Give your answer correct to one decimal place. We're going to use a formula like this, compound interest formula, where A is equals to P bracket 1 plus I to the power N. A is the final amount, including the principal. P is the principal amount, the amount that you invested. I, the interest rate per year. And N, the number of years invested. So it's important to remember that formula. We're going to be using it. So what we're going to do is we can write new value is equals to original value times multiplier to the power N. So it's important to write this formula down. The original value is 3,550. The multiplier is 1.026 and the number of years is 2 years. And how do we get the multiplier? To get the multiplier, you add 100 and then you divide by 100. So you take 2.6%, add 100, 102.6%, and then after that you divide by 100, it gives you 1.026. And when you put that, that will give you the new value of 3,736.9998. Now, this new value, you're going to invest it for the third year because that was invested, that original amount was invested for 2 years. Now you take this new value, invest it for the third year. So you put it times multiplier to the power 1 because it's only one more year for the third year. That means for the third year, you add one more year. You've already got 2 there. 2 years plus the 1 for the third, that gives you 3. So the multiplier would be the same. The multiplier would be what you're going to work out. Arrow is the new multiplier. So it would be the inverse of times that, you take it to the left, it becomes divide. So when you divide, you get 1.02199. Now, to get that percentage, you do the reverse process of multiplier. Multiplier, you add 100 and you divide by 100. Coming backwards, instead to divide by 100, you times 100 and then subtract 100. So you do the opposite of divide is times. Opposite of add is subtract. So you take the 1.029, you times 100 and then you minus 100. That gives you 2.1998. And to change it to one decimal place, it gives you 2.2%. Question 14. Sadia is going to buy a new car. For the car, she can choose one body color, one roof color, and one wheel color. She can choose from 19 different body colors, 25 different wheel colors. The total number of ways Sadia can choose the body color and the roof color and the wheel type is 3,325. Work out the number of different roof colors that Sadia can choose from. So Sadia can choose 19 different body colors and 25 different wheel types and R number of roof colors. And when you multiply all of that, that would give you a total of 3,325. So the body colors, the wheel type, and the roof type all give you a total of that. Now, to get what R is 19 times 25. If you take it to the left side, it will become opposite of times is divide. So 3,325 divided by 19 times 25, it gives you 7. So R is 7. Question number 15. Expand and simplify 3x plus 2 times 2x plus 1 times x minus 5. So to multiply these three trinomials, 1, 2, 3, I will do the first two, which I've colored in yellow first. And then after that, I will take the answer and multiply by the third one. You can choose any two and do first. You will still get the same answer. So what I'll do, I use the method of FOIL. First, outer, inner, and last. FOIL to multiply the first two. So the first, 3x times 2x, it gives 6x squared. The outer, 3x times 1, it gives you 3x. The inner, 2 times 2x, it gives you 4x. And the last, 2 times 1, it gives you 2. Now, 3x plus 4x are like terms. So 3 plus 4 is 7. So that gives you 7x. So you have 6x squared plus 7x plus 2. Now, we would use that 6x squared plus 7x plus 2, multiply it with the third one. So this one is a long process and you go step by step. So 6x squared, you multiply with x first, it gives you 6x cubed. Because there's x squared there plus the 1x, it gives you cube. 6x squared times 5, it gives you 30x squared, and it's minus because it's minus 5. We go now to 7. 7x times x gives you 7x squared. 7x times minus 5 gives you minus 35x. 2 times x, it gives you 2x. And 2 times minus 5 gives you minus 10. Now we collect like terms. I've put in yellow the x squared terms because they are like terms. So minus 30x squared plus 7 is minus 23x squared. And in this turquoise, minus 35x plus 2x gives you minus 33. So your final answer is 6x cubed minus 23x squared minus 33x and minus 10. Question number 16. Marek has 9 cards. There is a number on each card. Marek takes at random 2 of the cards. Work out the product of the numbers on the 2 cards. And he works out the product of the numbers on the 2 cards. Work out the probability that the product is an even number. So we look at the cards. There are 5 odd numbers, and I've colored them in yellow. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 odd numbers, and there are 4 even numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 even numbers. So what's the probability of an odd number? Is the number of odd numbers, which is 5, divided by the total, which is 9, because there are 9 numbers altogether. 5 plus 4 is 9. So its probability of odd is 5 over 9. Probability of even number is 4 over 9, because there are 4 even numbers and there are 9 numbers in total. Now we can put this on the probability tree diagram to make it easier. So we want to have the first time you have for odd or even. 5/9 or 4/9 for even. For the next time, if it's odd again, it goes to 4 because you've taken 1, there's 4 left. 5 take away 1, there'll be 4 left. And 9 take away 1, there'll be 8 left. So odd times odd, it gives you odd. If you take odd the first time, the next time you can take an even. So odd times even, it gives you even. If you pick even first time and the next time odd, even times odd, it gives you even. And if you pick even the first time and the second time even times even is even. So we want to work out the probability that the product is even. If you notice there's 1, 2, 3 evens that we get for the product. 1, 2, 3. We can work out these 3 and add them up, but that will take long. So it's better to work out the odd and subtract it from 1, since probabilities all add up to 1. So what's the probability of getting an odd? Probability of getting an odd is 5/9 times 4/8. So 5/9 times 4/8 and 1 minus that. So 5 times 9, 5 times 4 is 20, 9 times 8 is 72. So 1 minus 20/72, you can have 1 as 72/72 minus 20/72. That gives you 72 minus 20 is 52/72. So it's quicker to find the probability of getting an odd and subtract it away from 1, and that gives you the even because there's 3 even. Or you can find each of the evens and add them up, but that will be longer. Question number 17. A and B are points on a circle with center 0. CAD is the tangent to the circle at A. BOD is a straight line. Angle ODA is equal to 32 degrees. Work out the size of angle CAB. You must show all your working. So when I zoom in, you can see that this triangle is an isosceles triangle because this side is a radius, this side is a radius, and they are the same length. So it's an isosceles triangle. And because it's an isosceles triangle, this base angle is the same like this base angle. And now another thing you'll notice is that this is a radius and this is a tangent. When radius and tangent meet, the angle is 90 degrees. That's one of the circle theorem. When the radius and the tangent meet, that angle is 90 degrees. So if we know this angle is 90 and this one is 32, this triangle is 180 degrees. Angles in a triangle add up to 180. So 180 minus 90 minus 32 will give us this angle of 58. And if we look at this straight line, this would be 180 degrees. So 180 minus 58 will give us this angle. And then 180 degrees minus this angle and divide by 2 will give us those two base angles. So that's the idea and that's the plan. And from there, we would have, this is 90. 90 minus that angle will give us the yellow angle, which we're looking for. So you would write 180 minus 90 minus 32 will give you 58. 180 minus 58 will give you 122, which is that angle in there. And then 180 minus 122 will give you 58 again. And if you divide 58 by 2, it gives you 27 and 27 because the base angles are 27 for equilateral triangle. for isosceles triangle. Now 90 minus 27, this angle is 90. 90 minus 27, it gives you 61. So 61 is that yellow angle. The histogram gives information about the heights in meters of the trees in the park. The histogram is incomplete. 20% of the trees in the park have a height between 10 meters and 12.5 meters. None of the trees in the park have a height greater than 25 meters. Complete the histogram. We're going to use this formula. Frequency density is equal to frequency divided by class width. And in this triangle formula triangle, frequency density is the frequency divided by class width. And if you want the frequency, you cover the frequency is frequency density times class width. And frequency is given by the area of the rectangular bars, length times width. Very important. We're going to be using it to do that question. So what we're going to do is we will use 2.5 times 1.2. Because if that's 1 there, that's 1.1, that's 1.2. 2.5 times 1.2, that will give us the frequency of 3 for this rectangular bar. And for the next one, it would be 2.5 times 2. That will give us 5. And for the next one, it's 5 times 2.8. 5 times 2.8. Well, this is 5, and that's 2.8, and that gives us 14. And for this one, it's between 12.5 and 25 is 12.5. So it's 12.5 times the height is 0.8. 12.5 times 0.8, that gives us this area. So now we're using that frequency is frequency density times class width, which is just the area of that rectangle. So after we do that, we would have 3, 5, 14, and 10. So what's the total frequency? We add all of them. 3 plus 5 plus 14 plus 10, that gives us 32. But the question says 20% of trees in the park have a height between 10 meters and 12.5. So if between 10 and 12.5 is 20%, so 100 minus 20, it gives you 80. So that means this 32 is for 80%. So 32 is for 80%. So 32 is 80 over 100 of the total. And we don't know what the total is. So 80 over 100 of a certain number is 32. So let's call the total x. So 80 over 100 times x is 32. So we rearrange it. 80 over 100 is 0.8. So we divide by 0.8. 32 divided by 0.8, it gives you 40. So that means 40 in total. And 40 minus 32 is 8. So that 20% is 8. So the 20% is 8. And 80% is 32. Now we know the frequency now is 8. The class width is 2.5 because if you look there, it goes from 10 to 2.5. Goes from 10 to 2.5. So the class width is from 10 to 2.5. That's the class width. That's 2.5. And we know the frequency is 8. How do we get the frequency density, which is the height? So what we want to do now is to multiply. We want to divide. Frequency density is frequency divided by class width. Frequency is 8, class width is 2.5. So that gives you 3.2. So we will draw that bar going up to 3.2. And that's how you complete the histogram. Question number 19. The diagram shows a hemisphere with a diameter of 8.4 centimeters. Work out the volume of a hemisphere. Give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So that's the hemisphere with a diameter of 8.4. Diameter is 2 times the radius. So to get the radius is diameter divided by 2. So 8.4 divided by 2 is 4.2. So the radius is 4.2. The volume of a sphere is given 4/3 pi radius cube. But we don't want the whole sphere. We want just half of the sphere, which is hemisphere. So we divide it by 2. We divide by 2. We divide the whole volume by 2, half of it. So it's 4/3 times pi times 4.2, which is the radius, all cube divided by 2. It gives you 155.2. To 3 significant figures, the first 3 numbers, we put a line there and it's just 155. And that number is smaller than 5. So you cross it out. So your answer is 155. Number 20. D is equals to 1/8 c cube, or c cube divided by 8. C is 10.9, correct to 3 significant figures. By considering bounds, work out the value of D to a suitable degree of accuracy. Give a reason for your answer. So we're using this bounds formula I've written there on the right hand side at the top. Lower bound less than or equals to x less than upper bound. So less than or equals to means it includes the lower bound, and less than upper bound means it doesn't include the upper bound. So if we have C in the middle, we have less than or equals to, C is 10.9. What number can you round to 10.9? That's what we're asking here. You can round 10.85 to 10.9. And you can round a number which is just below 10.95 to 10.9. That's why it's less than. So now it's c cubed divided by 8. So we'll divide by 8 on the left, in the middle, and on the right. So 10.85 cubed divided by 8. 10.95 cubed divided by 8. That will give us 159.661. That will give us 164.117. But by considering bounds, work out the value of D to a suitable degree of accuracy. If we round to the nearest whole number, or we can round both of them. We can round that to 160, and we can round that to the 160. So we would use 160. Question number 21. Here is a speed time graph for a train journey between 2 stations. The journey took 100 seconds. The speed on the y-axis, the time on the x-axis. Calculate the time taken by the train to travel half the distance between the 2 stations. You must show all your working. We're going to use these 2 ideas, and one is a formula to solve this question. We're going to use speed is distance over time, and time would be distance divided by speed. So we need to remember that. And the second thing, which is below there, we'll need to use the idea that the area under a curve is the distance traveled. So we will be finding the area under the curve. When we find the area under the curve, it gives us the distance traveled. So very important to remember that. We'll be using that idea to do this question. So we want to work out the area of, we divide it into this first triangle and a rectangle and another triangle. The area of this triangle is half times the base is 30 times the height is 12. The height there is 12. So the area is half times base times height, 180. The area for this middle part, the rectangle, is 50, which is the base, between 30 and 80, that's 50, times the height, which is 12. That gives you 600. And the area of the last triangle is 20 for the base, times the height, which is 12. So that gives us 120. So the total area is 180 plus 600 plus 120 gives us 900. And we want half of that. 900 divided by 2 is 450. So we know 30 seconds. 30 seconds is 180 meters. Looking at the graph. So 30 seconds is 180 meters. So 450 meters for half of it minus 180 is 270 meters. We've got 270 meters left to find the time for. So the 270 meters divided by 12, which is the distance divided by the speed. Distance is 270 divided by the speed is 12. That gives us 22.5 seconds. So we want to find the time for 22.5 seconds. We want to find the time, which is 22.5 seconds. So the total time is the 30 seconds plus the 22.5, which is 52.5 seconds. Compare the acceleration of the train during the first part of its journey with the acceleration during the last part of the journey. So acceleration during the first part is positive because it's going upwards. So if you look at the graph, acceleration during the first part is positive. But acceleration during the last part is negative. It's coming down. That's negative and that's positive. And during the first part, the acceleration is 12 divided by 30, which is 0.4 meters per second squared. And during the last part, the acceleration is 12 velocity divided by the time is 20. 12 divided by 20 is 0.6 meters per second squared. So acceleration is greater during the last part than during the first part. Or you can say the gradient is steeper. The gradient here is steeper in the last part than in the first part. And you can also say acceleration is ascending in the first part and descending in this last part, and which is 0.4 positive going up and minus 0.6 negative coming down. So that's your complete answer for question 21. Work out the area of each, add them together, and then work out the total time. And then you can work out the acceleration for each part and compare them. And notice that is acceleration and the other one is negative acceleration, or what they call deceleration. Question 22. The number of rabbits on a farm at the end of month n is Pn. The number of rabbits at the end of the next month is given by P subscript n plus 1 is equals to 1.2 P subscript n minus 50. At the end of March, there are 200 rabbits on the farm. Work out how many rabbits there will be on the farm at the end of June. So at the end of April, it will be 1.2 times 200. So at the end of March, there are 200 rabbits on the farm. So 1 over 2 times 200 minus 50. So you get 190. And then for May, if 1.2 times the 190 minus 50 is 178. For June, if 1.2 times 178 minus 50. So you sub in the 200, you get the answer. Sub the answer 190, you get the next answer, and sub the next answer to get the final one. So you get 163.6 which you can put it as 163 or 164, because you cannot get half or 0.6 of a rabbit, so you can round it to 163 or 164. 22b. By considering your results in part A, suggest what will happen to the number of rabbits on the farm after a long time. After a long time, there wouldn't be any rabbits, or you can say there will be 0 rabbits, or you say fewer rabbits, or the number of rabbits will decrease. Question number 23. The diagram shows a parallelogram. The area of the parallelogram is greater than 15 centimeters squared. Show that 2x squared minus 21x plus 40 is less than 0. We're going to be using this formula. Area of a triangle is given by half times the product of the sides times sine of the angle between them. Half AB sine C. Very important, and we're going to use that formula. So we'll split the parallelogram into two. So you have the top part is a triangle and the bottom part is a triangle as well. And the area of a triangle is half AB sine C. So half times A is 10 minus x and B is 2x minus 1. And sine of the angle between them is sine of 150. So we're going to multiply that out, and from there we can get that quadratic inequality. And this is how you multiply it out. You would have 10 times 2x is 20x. 10 times minus 1 is minus 10. Minus x times 2x is minus 2x squared. Minus x times minus 1 is plus x. And since the area of the parallelogram is 2 times area of that triangle, because there's 2 of them, because the parallelogram is like that and there's 2 of them. So that's why we multiply by 2. So sine of 150 times a half, it would give you 1 over 4, because sine 150 is a half. Half times a half gives you 1 over 4. Now we multiply the area by 2. So 2 times 1 over 4, it gives you 1 over 2. And then we have 20x. We got 20x plus x, would gives you 21x. So this should be 21. That should be 21x. So 21x minus 2x squared minus 10 is greater than 30. How did we get 30? This 2 there times 15. 2 times 15, it gives you 30. It's divided by 2 on the left. We take it to the right, it becomes times 2. Now we bring everything to one side. So we take the minus 2x squared to the right, it becomes plus 2x squared. Take the plus 21x to the right, it becomes minus 21x. We take the minus 10 to the right, it becomes plus 10. So 30 plus 10, it gives you 40. So that means 0 on the left is greater than 2x squared minus 21x plus 40. So I don't need to put this equals to there. So we'll have 2x squared minus 21x plus 40 is less than 0, because if you swap them, it's like 0 is greater than that, or that is less than 0. QED, it means as required to show. And part B, find the range of possible values of x. To find the range of possible values of x, we need to solve that quadratic. And we can use the quadratic formula, which I've put on the top right there, or you can factorize it. And when you factorize it, you will get 2x minus 5, bracket, and x minus 8 is less than 0. So 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. Take 5 to that right-hand side. X will be equals to 5 divided by 2, or 2.5. And x minus 8 is equals to 0. X equals to 8. So x equals to 2.5 and x equals to 8 are called critical values. When you plot the graph, the 2.5 you can see there, and the 8 you can see there, that's where it crosses the x-axis. That is the x-axis. So critical values, the 8 and the 2.5. Now, when you plot the graph, it would have this U shape, and you want the values where it is less than 0. If you notice where it is less than 0, if you put this line along the x-axis, all this underneath is less than 0. So that means between 2.5 and 8, all of this is less than 0. So you start at 2.5, you end at 8, and you put less than x less than 8. So any number between there gives an answer below 0. Any number on this side is bigger than 0. On the right side is bigger than 0. So your answer is 2.5 less than x less than 8. Question number 24. Square ABCD is transformed by a combined transformation of reflection in the line x equals to -1, followed by a rotation. Under the combined transformation, two vertices of the square ABCD are invariant. Describe fully one possible rotation. So we have the line x equals to -1. So if you have a reflection on that, you will get the other shape there. So one rotation 90 degrees clockwise about -1, 0. So if you have -1, 0 with the center, you can do 90 degrees clockwise. Or rotation 90 degrees anti-clockwise and the center will be -1, 6. So you use this as the center, rotate it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Or a rotation of 180 degrees about center -1, 2. So those are the other choices. And the invariant is very important because it means two of the points will stay the same. They will not change. That's what invariant means. So two of the points, the vertices, two of the coordinates for the two of the points would stay the same. That's why it says invariant. Question 25. The straight line L has equation 3x plus 2y equals to 17. The point A has coordinates 0, 2. The straight line M is perpendicular to L and passes through A. Line L crosses the y-axis at the point B. Lines L and M intersect at the point C. Work out the area of triangle ABC. You must show all your working. So for question 25, we want to start by making y the subject to find the gradient. So we take 3x to the other side. It becomes -3x plus 17. It's times 2. We divide by 2. Divide all of them by 2. So y is -3 over 2x plus 17. So for line L, the gradient is -3 over 2. So we use this formula. If the gradient is for one of them, if they are perpendicular, the gradient for one of the lines is -1 over the gradient of the other. So if M1 is -3 over 2, which is for line L1, the gradient for the other one will be -1 over -3 over 2, which would give you 2 over 3. And you can check because M1 times M2 should be -1. So -3 over 2 times 2 over 3 would be -1. Because that would cancel, that would cancel. Now we can use y equals to mx plus c and sub in the values to find c. So knowing that x is 0 and y is 2 from the question, we sub in y is 2, x is 0, and m is 2 over 3. And that will give us 2 over 3 times 0 is 0, and that gives c to be 2. So line M is y equals to 2 over 3x plus 2. So we now know line M, And we now know line L. Those are the two lines, line L and line M. So we want to find out where those two lines meet, and we want to solve the simultaneous equations. So we have line L, one of them is coming down and one of them is going up because of minus and plus. So we want to find out where they meet. We want to find out where the line L1, so the line L and the line M, where do they meet? The coordinates. That's what we want to find out. So we solve the simultaneous equation. That's L and that's M. To solve them, we make them equals to each other. So 2 over 3x plus 2 is equal to minus 3 over 2x plus 17 over 2. To get rid of the fraction, the denominator, the numbers in the denominator, we times all of them by 6. So that will give us 4x. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times minus 3 minus 18 divided by 2 is minus 9. And 6 times 17 divided by 2 will be 51. Now we put all the x on one side. So we take the minus 9x to the left. So it becomes 4x plus 9x. Take the plus 12 to the right. It becomes 51 minus 12. 51 minus 12 is 39. 4x plus 9x is 13x. To get x, we divide by 13. 39 divided by 13 is 3. Substitute the value for 3 in one of the equation of the line. You will get y to be 4. 2 over 3 times 3 plus 2. The 3 would cancel. 2 plus 2 gives you 4. So line M and L meet at the point 3, 4. That's where the two lines meet, at the coordinate point 3, 4. So when we draw the graph, we have one of the lines in blue and the other line in red. And then we have the y-axis. So the yellow area is that area of the triangle we want to find. And how do we find the area of this yellow triangle? We use the formula I've put at the bottom there. Area is half base times height. So if we were to rotate this and put it and take it there, we'll see that we'll have the base and then we'll have the height. So you can turn the triangle. So we can use this as our base. The base is from 8.5 up to 2, down to 2, or 2 up to 8.5. 8.5 minus 2, it gives us 6.5. So the base is 6.5. And now the height of that triangle, it goes from the y-axis up to that point there, that straight red line there, and that is 3. Height of the triangle is 3. So that height there is 3. So the area of the triangle, half times 6.5 times 3, it gives you 9.75. So for question 25, we had to find the equation for line L and the equation for line M. We had to find where line L and line M meets. And then we had to draw the two lines and find out the area of the triangle in between the two lines and the y-axis.